Alright, here we go. Summer in North Queensland. Who'd have thought? Yesterday it was hot and about bloody 35 degrees. Now it's only about 25 degrees and it's raining. This is what happens in North Queensland every year. Happy days it is. So you can probably guess from this what we're going to do today. So I could only do little things. Yesterday I gapped those spark plugs. Did a good job. That was about the limit of what I can do before I sort of start to heat up a little bit, being the victim that I am at the moment. We've got our oil here. Obviously we take a bit over 5 litres, closer to 6 litres for an oil change in this thing. I've got the filter removal tool and I've got my filter, the old Brit part. A lot of people bag them out, but I've been using them for years and years. I just hit my head then. And lo and behold, this thing has been running quite well. I'm very close to 300,000 on the odometer on this thing now, and it's been using Brit part oil filters for about the last 100,000. That's what I've owned it for. Anyway, that's what we're going to do today. Even though it's raining, I'll have a go. It's only water, it's not going to hurt, and it's not like I live down in New South Wales or Victoria where it's about 7 degrees. And it's still about 25, 26 degrees here. It's probably actually 30 degrees to be honest, but it actually makes quite a cool change when working on the car in summer to have a little bit of rain. So let's get into this, see if I can actually remember how to do an oil change and successfully complete it without screwing something up. Go without checking this out.
Staring at the tyres now. Great Keithy here.
Alright, here we go, wet ground. Got my drain tray and I got my socket and a little bit of a rag there to try and keep most of this stuff down. I'll just double check. I'm pretty sure it's a 15. I've got a 14 here as well, just in case it's a 14 mil. I'm pretty sure it's a 15. Yeah, 15. So I'll take that plug off now. I've got the 15 on there already, and we'll get that oil out. If I've got the strength to get the plug open, I'm going to make sure lefty loosey. That's tighty. You don't want to do that. You want to go loose. Oh God. I don't think I have the strength to open that. I'm going to need a tool. I'll be right back. So back under with another tool. It's essentially just something I can put over the end to spin it around. I've just got a bigger socket on the end of a... I can't even remember the name of my tools these days. That's what this has done to me. Anyway, leverage. Leverage will make the difference. And that's what we're going to do now to get that sump plug off. Leverage. Oh, got it. That was actually really hard for me, and I guess that goes to show that when you're off your feet for so long, when you're struck down with something, your strength drops quite considerably. Now I never do my sump plugs up very tight at all. In fact, I only do them firm, not like superhuman strength. That took a lot of energy for me to get that open then. I'll get him off and we'll drain this oil. It's good to know that even with all of this, I probably still have a lot of trouble doing the reading type stuff. But things like this I can remember. I don't know how this works, but anyway. I got that right. We've got the fill plug off as well, just to let the system have a bit of breathing room so that it actually drains properly. I'll get out of here and we'll put a new washer on this sump plug. Alright, so I'm back on the wet ground. I must love this. Coming under here with a bung head on a rainy day just to do an oil change on the car. So I've got the new sump plug washer on there, so he's good to go. Very happy with that. That's an important thing to do every time, even if it's only been a few thousand Ks. I mean, if you can't do it for, say you're in the middle of nowhere that don't sell the right size washer, then it's not going to be the end of the world. But the reason that we do change these washers every time you do an oil change, so that you don't end up with leaks through your sump plug, because they do, obviously, with heat expanding and contracting
on the engine, when you stop at 400 million times in an oil change, they can warp. So when you take them off, they're going to change shape and character a little bit. So it's a good idea to change that every time you do an oil change. If you don't, get into the habit of doing that, you'll never get oil leaks from your sump plug at least. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick before I put that sump plug back in, check out these tyres here. They've done about 70,000, 80,000 kilometres, quite a lot of distance travelled, and they've still got what I would say is close to 10 mil of tread left on them. Now, I've been rotating the front one side to side about every 5,000 kilometres because obviously with the suspension lift and having not changed anything other than the shock absorbers and the spacers, the geometry is not 100% perfect on this thing, so they do feather a little bit. And after a few thousand kilometres, like close to 10,000, or probably more than that to be honest, they do start to get a little bit of a hum about them because of that geometry not being 100% perfect. So I found that by rotating these side to side about every 10,000 Ks and then doing the front to back rotation, it's kept these wearing really, really good. It also keeps that throbbing, that hum 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 type noise down. But that's not bad, that's 80,000 odd Ks. And it's done four-wheel driving, quite a lot of it. You would have seen some Cape York stuff. And all of the other four-wheel driving that I've done in the years that I've had these tyres on. I'm quite impressed with that. Let's get this plug in and we'll finish this oil change off by doing the oil filter. So one thing a lot of people do is they over-tighten their sump plug as well. You don't need to tighten it all the way from India to friggin' America. You only need to do it firm because it's not like it's got to hold the wheels on your car. It's only got to hold a plug with a washer on it to stop oil from coming out. So just remember that too, because you can actually snap these sump plugs or tear the threads inside your sump if you over tighten them. Oh God. That was hard. I nearly needed the strength of the hog to get that off. Even though it wasn't probably that tight, I'm just so weak at the moment from not having done too much. Managed to break the seal anyway, which is good. I don't know if you can see that, but there's just a tiny little bit of oil dripping out of that oil filter. So I've cracked the seal on the oil filter just enough to release the pressure in it. And they always do drop a bit of oil when you initially break that seal. Because I'm a little bit slow at the moment, I've actually given it some time to drain out. Usually I would have just kept turning it and eventually put the oil in the hanger in the drain sump. But because I'm going to need a little bit extra time to get this off, I've just let it drain out a little bit before I do that. Just wipe that down a little bit and we'll get this oil filter out. There we go. So most of the oil's out of that, which is really good. It was a lot quicker than I thought it would be. I thought it'd take a little bit longer because I'm a bit rusty at it. But believe it or not, that came out rather quick, rather easy, and rather clean. So I'll just wipe this down and then I'll get the new oil filter ready to go and we'll put him in. Alright, so I've got my new oil filter here. You probably can't see in there, but I'm not going to tip it right over. I've actually 2/3 filled it with the engine oil already, and I'm just going to wipe around the seal just gently with my finger with a bit of oil on it, just so that when it does seal it's got a good little mating surface. I'm anal for doing that. Otherwise these seals tend to actually stick, and when you take them off they can actually stick up there and you forget to get them off. You go and put your new oil filter on there and next thing you know you've got a pretty bad oil leak. So that's a good practice to get into. Just all you need to do, just a little tiny dip of oil on your finger and just spread him around the oil seal, and that'll prevent it from sticking up there when you want to take this one off next time you do an oil change. It also helps prevent leaks as well. Very simple, just like that. Now if I had a vehicle where the oil filter would sort of sit down like that or sideways, I wouldn't put any oil in this. I'd fill this thing about half full with oil. Obviously if I had to lean it on the side to put it on, or upside down to screw it on, I wouldn't put any oil in that. And the only reason I put oil in this now is just a pre-prime it type thing. You don't have to do that. If you didn't want to do that, don't feel like you had to. This is just how I do it. So this one's ready to go now. We've lubed up the seal. All we're doing is wait for that last couple of drips, then we'll clean it up, put the new filter on there and let's get some oil in this old girl and turn her on. Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. All I'm going to do now is clean the surface, chuck the new oil filter in, tighten him up by hand, not with a tool, and then we can go up top, chuck some oil in and start the big rig up. So that's the new oil filter in. I've just got to give it a little bit of tension by hand, and I'll clean up any oil that's dripped out of here as well, and we can go up top. Alright, so time for the fun part. This 5W4 Penrite HPR5 oil. I've been using this for years and years and years. There's no tappet noise or anything on this thing. It's very quiet in terms of the valve train, which is why I use this oil. So time to fill her up. We know we've already put a little bit in the oil filler, and it's going to take over 5 litres. So we'll put 5 litres in, and then we'll get over there to old dipstick land and give it a bit of a check to see how close to right we are before we fire it over. So I took the drain of the, whatever that's called, I can't remember. I took it out because this only had about 3 litres in it. And we've got this lovely little spout on it. Time to get an actual bottle out now to finish the job, so I probably will put this back in, funny enough. Same deal. HPR5, this was a 6 litre, it's only got about just on 3 litres in it, so this will nearly get us to full, to our little 5 litre cut off, and then I'll pull the dipstick out and we'll have a check. Alright, so that's all the oil in there now. I've got the old bottle here, just holding it up just to get those last couple of drips out of the funnel. I don't know what it's called, brain moment. But either way, we'll let that keep dripping. It's only going to be drip, drip, drip now. So I'll go over there, pull the dipstick out, clean him off, give it a minute, and then I'll put him back in and we'll check how much we've got in there. I'll probably will need to top it up just a little bit, won't be much, maybe half a litre. And then we can fire him up. We've also got to remember this too, not to forget to put the cap on. Funny thing with this, the first time you pick up your, I'm getting hot head, this is why I can't remember things. The first time you pick this up, you're going to need to remember just to dry it off. Don't even look at what the level says because it's going to be dripping down, it's going to be an unrealistic level. So pull it off, clean it off, don't even look at what the level says, then put him back in, do your full dip, however your manufacturer recommends, all the way in to the click, bring him back out, and then you can check it for the first time. Now, according to this here, I'm actually perfect. So that's fantastic for me. I'll just give that another minute. It's been about 2 minutes, I'll give it another minute. I'll put it in again. If it's still the same, I'll start her up and run it for a minute because as you guessed, the oil filter is not completely full, so there's going to be a bit of oil that needs to top into that. So this isn't an accurate level, this is just telling me I've got enough in there to be able to start the engine without blowing it up. Alrighty, here we go, clean the hands up a little bit. Got the car key, we've put the drain plug, the level dipstick back in. Brain moment. We've got the cap back on the oil filler. We'll start her up now that we know we've got enough oil in there. We'll give it a minute to run and then we'll shut him off, give it a minute or two to chill, and we'll check the level again just to see where we're at. But in my opinion, we're pretty close to done. At most, it'll only need a small little top up to fill him up, and that's the oil change done. So I'll come back another day and we'll be doing these spark plugs. Well, let's get him started. First start after an oil change, usually you get a little bit of tap, 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 tap noise. Some cars don't do it, some do. This one's pretty good. It's a good sign of how your lifters and everything are in terms of retaining oil and their general health. If it's quiet on that first start up after an oil change, especially given this thing hasn't driven for over 24 hours, you get an idea of the health of your engine on that first start up after an oil change. So we'll see how loud and how tappety this is after its oil change. Hopefully there's none, but you're about to hear it live. That was nice and quiet.
thanks for watching that video. Real quick, I've just gone and got changed because it's still raining out there and I was getting a bit chilly. Giving myself half an hour to come down, but I just wanted to point out too, I don't know if you noticed, but towards the end of the video, how I started to slur my speech a little bit and just not be able to get the words completely right. That's a classic example of exactly what's happening right now with this, with the brain tumor. It just, after a little while, especially when I'm doing strenuous work with my brain, I start to lose concentration and the ability to get things like words out and do complex things, which might have previously been easy to do. So it's just a classic example and a bit of an introduction, or a bit more for you guys to see about what's happening up here for me right now compared to back in the day where I was just all wit and charm all day long. A little bit different now. Anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, guys, and hang out for the next video. It's going to be a good one.